Namaste and welcome to everyone to Kṣaṇāti Jyotish channel and all the beloved followers of the astrological community. It is such a blessing here to be here with my friend and colleague, Charlotte Benson, also known as Jyoti Devi. Namaste. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, right back at you, Kṣaṇāti. I'm delighted to spend some time with you, talking about whatever emerges.
Now, a little bit about Charlotte that I'd like you all to know is that she is the president of the American College of Vedic Astrology and is a full-time, by referral, consulting Jyotishi. During her 45-year career, she has analyzed over 40,000 astrological charts, written, lectured, volunteered, and traveled globally in the service of astrology. Charlotte has earned several academic credentials for both Western astrological organizations and, of course, through the American College of Vedic Astrology. Jyoti Devi, Charlotte Benson, has been the proud recipient of numerous professional awards from the ICAS and others. And that includes Jyotish Ratna, Jyotish Coded, Jyotish Navratna, Jyotish Chubmani. And it's just such a pleasure to have you here and to hear about the American College of Vedic Astrology. Tell us a little bit about it, when it started, and your work within the organization.
Oh, I would love to do that. Thank you. You know, we're a distinguished institution. The American College of Vedic Astrology has been in existence since the early 1990s, maybe 93, maybe 92. I should know this, but the short version of this is that we have been continuously in operation, serving the Jyotir Vidya by properly educating and certifying practicing astrologers to go out into the world and do our good work. So, excuse me, at this stage, we've evolved into an online college. Our curriculum is I want to say it's Shastra based. By that I mean it's our curriculum available to people is based on the ancient traditional wisdom, and it's really beautifully created, documented. It's very easy to move through let's be honest, Jyotish is quite complex. You might have noticed that. But we have a very systematic approach to offering the knowledge through, typically I mean, currently our courses are oriented toward, ideally a student would be able to get through the course in 3 weeks. There are 10 courses per level. The first level is the Jyotish Ratna, and so a dedicated person could get through that and get certification after a thorough examination in a year. And the same is for level 2 for our Jyotish Prabhakara level. And so at the end of the day, studying intensely for 2 years, one could have the type of credentials where one could go out and become a qualified, successful practicing Jyotishi. This is my big passion. As you mentioned, actually, I've been a practicing astrologer for, actually, I'm all closer to 50 years now, and so I have had a great run. I mean, I'm still at it, don't get me wrong, but my passion is for younger people to actually realize that there's a potential to have a satisfying, lucrative career as a consulting Jyotishi, helping people.
Yeah, and I can speak from my personal experience. Maybe the first couple years weren't easy, but after a while, when you're doing the right work and you're dedicated to the study of the Shastras and you're working with a teacher with a strong lineage, it is something with technology that we can develop into a career and we can be successful or as someone joked with me, being a sadhu in the city, which is basically
Yes.
this balance of, we're delivering this, embodying this message of light, this channel of light. But in this modern world and society, how can we do that in a professional context so that the most people can be able to do that? Because what better service is there to humanity? Now, one other thing that really interests me is your history with astrology. And my grandmother was a Western astrologer. So I was born into Western astrology, introduced very deeply into the study of Western astrology for the first 18 years of my life. And when I went to the Albuquerque Institute with Dr. Vasant Lad, that's when I really fully got engrossed in Jyotish and became a full believer in astrology, because the Western astrology didn't quite fit for me the way that the Vedic astrology did. And when the Vedic astrology began to fit, it really just took off for me. So what's your kind of personal journey from the Western astrology to the Vedic astrology? Because one thing I want to discuss that I appreciate that you do is you incorporate the outer planets in Vedic astrology, and maybe we'll have a future video or something on that topic as well. But just in general, how did Vedic astrology come the most comfortable pair of sneakers for you?
Yes, I threw off those stilettos and went straight to flip-flops. No, that's a very poor analogy. But I think I admitted to you earlier, Kṣaṇāti, that I have
flip-flops are closer to the ground. I'm not sure it's the worst analogy.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I confessed to you that well, everybody knows that I have Mercury in Pisces, but it's also conjunct Jupiter, Mars, and the Sun. So I am really quite hilarious. I try to keep this at a modicum because, I am the president of the Harvard of Vedic astrology instruction in the West. However, thank you for letting me laugh at myself. But but back to the past. Yes, back in the day when I first encountered astrology, the only thing that we had in the West here was Western astrology. Right. And at that point, there were probably 4 or 5 Western astrology books. The first time I laid my eyes on the concept of astrology, I just knew this is what I was going to do. I was a teenager back then. My first husband put an astrology book in my hands. I was a teenage bride. He put an astrology book in my hand. He said, "Okay, study this. You'll be good at this." And so I did, and practiced Western astrology very successfully for about 25 years. And of course, one of my standard tools was the outer planets. I remember I could give an hour-long consultation session just on Neptune crossing over someone's moon, or their Uranus opposition, or I think the outer planets are crucial. I think I'm also a natural-born heretic, so that fits right in. But so I studied Western astrology and practiced that successfully until one fine day I came across the American College of the American Council of Vedic Astrology conference in San Rafael. I don't know, back in the early 90s, 92, 93, 94, somewhere like that. And so from that point on, what I heard made so much, even more sense to me than Western astrology. And so I say that I haven't been with ACVA since day 1, but I've been with them since day 2. So I remember I was having a very hard time then, just had another recent divorce. Dang. And I managed to scrape together $30 for volume 1 of Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. And believe me, I was distressed to find out there was volume 2. But I managed to scrape together another $30. But
that's not a bad deal for the book, by the way.
Well, it's not, is it? But I'm just making the point that I have to say I'm very grateful to the Jyotirvija for supporting me this long, because not that long ago, $30 for volume 1 of BPHS was, oh my God, I'll have to give up eating lunch for a week. But again through the flowing of time and in the course of things. I mean, I'm not puffing myself up. I'm saying that I am really successful in my practice of Jyotish because I bothered to get myself properly educated or formally educated, get my credentials, and be able to make a really satisfying full-time profession of this. But back to my college, back to the American College of Vedic Astrology. I would highly recommend your listeners who have a passion for astrology to consider the fact that they could have a lucrative, satisfying profession of the celestial science. I know I've already said that a couple of times, and I may say it again, but again, we're easily accessible. We also have world-class instructors who are assigned as more or less as tutors for the student. I mean, it's incumbent upon the student to do the reading, to write the essays, to pass the exams, to do their coursework, but there's always a guide on the side there too to answer obscure questions, of which, as you well know, there are thousands of them.
Yeah. And a lot of my students will know that, I also have a curriculum, and I believe in the importance of developing. It's a two-part process, it's incorporating the ancient history and the ancient knowledge, which is something which is so importantly being done through your school. And then there's that individual part of us that's responsible for keeping us a clean channel, keeping us a clean vessel for the Jyotirvidya to work through us so the planets and stars can express whatever they have to. That's why you can't discount credit things like the outer planets in Western astrology, because when the Jyotirvidya is coming through them, there's just as much truth as anything else, and these are all beautiful tools to be accessed. There's an affiliation, I know, with the Sedona conference that we have every year. Not sure if we'll be having it this year. We'll see. That's up in the air. We don't really need to discuss about that. But you have a lot of people on your team that are really supporting your vision and your dream. And is there anyone you'd like to give a special thanks to, or anyone you'd like to really say, I appreciate your support on the other end of this thing as we evolve and grow as an organization?
Oh God, yes, thank you. That's a very generous offer. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Well, starting from, again, back in the day, I can't remember the date, in the early 90s, but my first Jyotish guru is Dr. Dennis Harness. And
what a lovely man.
Isn't he? I'm just delighted to have made his acquaintance. He was very instrumental in bringing Jyotish to the West. I mean, not single-handedly, but he was right there consistently.
Totally.
Being the most charming, well-credentialed front man, as I so quaintly say, for Jyotish in the West. So I first met. I think I owe almost everything to Dr. Dennis Harness. He made it his mission to get me properly educated. All the while I was working, I think, again, beginning at day 2, I went to a conference, and then the next year, Dr. Dennis Harness has an Ashlesha moon, and he, could convince anybody to do anything in the most loving way. So I really started out as the servant of ACVA. And I was very happy in that position. Dennis Harness was our president for a decade. He's now the president emeritus of ACVA, and is a constant source of support for me and the college, including his. You made a comment on the college, the American College of Vedic Astrology, is affiliated with the Sedona Vedic Astrology Conference. Is always so generous in supporting the college, because I mean, we really are unique. We're the only multi-person institution teaching astrology, as teaching Jyotish, as far as I know. Um, so, so a special shout out to Dayananda ji for his constant support, and also for Vamadeva Shastri, Dr. David Frawley, who was such a support for the curriculum of the college, again, way back in the day. And he's still a wonderful mentor, and his wife Shambhavi Chopra. And gosh, I'm on the spot now. I feel like I'm on the stage at the Kodak Theater getting a statuette for something. Going, oh, who should I want to thank my agent and mom and dad.
So to anybody I forgot, I love you too.
Yes. Well, I'm known to being a friend to all. Well, almost all. But that's my job, to be a friend to the Western astrologers and Jyotishis. But I have to appreciate my existing team. You know, we have, as you may well know, you know what we're doing here in the West with Jyotish. It's not exactly mainstream, is it? I mean, it's getting to be more mainstream, thank heavens, as we go along.
You know, I think, you know, Arjun, Kapil, and I are trying our best, but it's a work in progress.
Yes, you are putting it out there. God bless you. But I mean, in terms of my concept of the proper use of the Jyotirvija in the 21st century is that there should be enough properly trained, credentialed Jyotishis to serve the populace, just in the same way that an accountant would, or an attorney, or a physician, or a dentist.
I mean, I think there's some
right?
you know, I think we could get into a philosophical conversation, you know, not to get too far off topic, but they consider astrology a pseudoscience, right? And we know by our understanding that it's as much of a science as anything else. So
Yes.
there's a lot of work and almost civil rights to be done in our movement, you know?
That is correct. Yes. And you know, just as an aside, when I first began practicing, it was actually illegal. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. It was illegal to practice fortune telling. It was illegal. Not that stopped me for even a moment, but that was within one lifetime. I mean, that being my lifetime so far. So yes, there are a lot of misconceptions, and I think that you can see from the way my camera is positioned. There's these three things on my office door. Those are the three wise men, and for people, again, back in the day, there was a lot of, I used to get letters. Remember back in the day, we had these things called letters, little pieces of paper that flew through the air.
I think I heard about those.
Yeah, they have stamps and everything. And but I used to get threatening letters from people saying that I was doing the work of the devil. So
yeah, I've been told that.
Well, I mean, and that was not coming from well, in any case, I collect the three, I call them the three astrologers, because I say I could easily make the case that the three astrologers, the three wise men who are following the star, what else would they be? Who else would they be if they weren't wise men? Are responsible for the course of Western civilization. Because if those three astrologers had gone back to King Herod as they were instructed to do, there would, you know, that would have been the end of the little baby Jesus, and where would the West be now? Now that's a real condensed version, but I think there's a lot of food for thought in that particular comment.
Definitely, and I always say, well, who created the stars, and then who created the planets?
That is correct. So you know, there is a lot of misinformation out here. So that is why I think it's incumbent upon all of us who are passionate about Jyotish to that want to practice this, to become properly credentialed, become educated in every field. This is another one of my rants, Kṣaṇāti, is about my becoming broadly educated in arts, literature, history, geography, politics. Anything that you know will be useful to you at some point in a session.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key things that you're bringing out is that in Jyotish and astrology, there's a lot of self-study, and with self-study, there's a lot of misinformation. And with that self-study, sometimes something my dad always told me, a little bit of information is more dangerous than a lot of information. And so when it comes to studying this ancient science professionally with a guru or a school that has dedicated their lives and their souls to it, it is absolutely essential if you're really serious about this process.
Yes, that is a very good point. And yes.
And I don't think, you know, the school is great. Some people don't resonate with school, and that's okay too. You can study, as mentioned, mentorship privately. I offering privately. Your school offers private mentorship and tutoring. So at the end of the day, it's most important that when you really get invigorated by this incredible deep ocean of Jyotish, that you're willing to take some formal or professional study of it so that you don't make any sorts of misunderstandings about it.
Yes, I agree. You know, I used to be, back in my younger days when I still got irritated about things like this, I would be very irritated being on a talk show someplace, and having the host be so dismissive of astrology, and I just had to do my very best to not slap someone. But that's the thing about knowing a little bit about astrology. You know, when you find out about astrology, you could be, oh my God, this is so fabulous. I must tell everyone about it. And now I've read 2 books and I am an expert. And, you know, going off and not being able to substantiate, you know, whatever claims they're making. So I used to be irritated about that. Now I just got over it. But I agree. You know, anybody that says anything about astrology or Jyotish is representing the Jyotirvidya to whomever and however that happens. And this is that's a pretty serious, that's a, you know, you're taking on a serious responsibility doing that.
Yeah.
So, but also I have to say, one also has to start somewhere. Yeah, I'm not talking about myself, but because of my education, I'm doing fine now. But back in the day, yes, it was a struggle. But again, you know, I've read, I don't know, probably closer to 50,000 charts. But you know, one has to start somewhere. I'm saying this to encourage your listeners, because it's a lifetime study, or it's a multiple lifetime study, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't until 4 years in study with a guru and looking at least 5,000 charts that, you know, I started to build that muscle tone, as you know, to be able to really, really, you know, offer my full capacity. It's something that you need the guidance of some kind of, you know, teacher, and you need experience, and there's no way around that.
Yeah.
And so if you go out and you read in a chart without any experience or without a teacher, just because you think it's cool, that's dangerous territory. And that's just important, I think, also for people to know.
Yeah, it is. So I was in conversation with Vinay Aditya the other week, and he was telling the tale about being someplace and you know, offering to do astrology and getting absolutely nobody interested. And he made the comment that he was sure it was because, with all due respect to my Western astrology colleagues, that Western astrologers had just polluted the you know, the beautiful wisdom to the degree that it's just, you know, it's just commercial, or it's ridiculous, or it's a caricature. It's a caricature.
Yeah, but one thing I'm sure you agree with, I tell all my clients, would you rather have faith in a system that's, you know, 5 to 10,000 years old, or a couple hundred?
Yeah, well, they could draw their own conclusions from that one. But
Um,
so here we are, and we live in such a wonderful world. I mean, that information is accessible. This is a language. Astrology is a language, the language of the stars. It's a language like any other language. It can be taught, it can be learned, and it can be used to, for anyone's advantage.
so I hope all of you followers out there got a chance to see this video, meet Jyoti, Devi, Charlotte, Benson, and hear of the American College of Vedic Astrology, that you can feel the importance of the need for the formal study of it, the experience of it, before you ever really start to interpret and study charts on your own, the importance of the formalized education of this very sacred material. And I would like to thank you, Charlotte, for being here with me today. And I hope you enjoyed our time together.
I did. Thank you so much. And every blessing to you and to your viewers or your listeners. So, all right then. Thank you.